Hello and welcome to a Lord Slar panel discussion, and today we are doing the 8th Doctor Adventures Series 2, and before you accuse me of skipping Series 1, I actually did it about 4 or 5 years ago with Time Lord Magic, if you want to look back on the channel, back in the annals of the channel. It's one of my least viewed videos, I think, but there we go. We're finally, 5 years later, doing the sequel. Sadly not with Matt, I'm sure I'll get him in later on, but today I have an all-Yank cast with Brian,
Hello.
Jacob,
Hello.
and Antonio the Funky Meme. Isn't that your name?
Yeah, that's my name on Twitter, yeah. Hello.
I'm sure you all know Jacob and Brian at this point, but do you have anything you want to plug before we start, Antonio?
Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Crinoid Roots. I upload a video like every 3 months. Yeah, thank you.
Excellent. Sometimes I'm every 3 months when I get busy.
Doctor Who Froobs. Doctor Who Froobs.
What is this relevant? Is this relevant, Brian?
Yeah,
it's a video
relevant to Crinoid Roots.
Yeah, watch Doctor Who Froobs unboxing on my channel.
Stop. This is not relevant. You are against the law, right? You know, Invaders from Mars, you go, Jacob, because you like it.
I do. Well, it's
your
really
favourite story. It's your favourite story. So
I did not say that.
Justify why you think it's better than Inferno and Power of the Daleks and Heaven Sent. Justify that.
That was the shittest transition I have ever heard.
Why do I always get abused when I come on here?
I'm sorry.
Because it's funny.
It's funny because you're the straight man, Jacob, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
He actually says that at the beginning of the first Celestial podcast episode. I was re-listening to it the other day. He goes, "I am the straight man here."
See, it's only funny to do Brian when I know I can annoy him. When I can't annoy him, it just kind of bounces right off and doesn't do anything.
Look, so Invaders from Mars, yeah, it's okay. It's like I mean it's filler technically to like the whole arc of the season, but it's really fun. Like you got Simon Pegg in it playing a gangster, and it's by Mark Gatiss, who mostly writes good stuff. Mostly.
Are you reading off Tara's wiki?
No.
Here are a series of facts about the episode.
I listen. I just don't know where we're going with this.
Well, I thought you were going to say about why you liked it and thought it was the best.
I do because it's just I love Orson Welles, and this basically does Doctor Who does the War of the Worlds broadcast event.
Yeah, well,
Except this a bit shit, isn't it?
Yeah, but the thing is, Jacob, I love Hitler, yet I don't enjoy the episode Let's Kill Hitler.
What the fuck?
So why simply do you like it?
It's just a fun sort of runaround. Like it's not the best of the season, but it's nowhere near the worst. I mean,
I am
right. So clearly you're objectively wrong, Jacob. Clearly, so let's let Brian.
Okay, Callum.
Objectively.
I'm utterly bored to tears by it. It's Mark Gatiss just isn't a particularly captivating writer, and I think that stays true here. This is actually my least favorite story that he's written.
Really?
Oh my god. I don't like the American accents. I do actually like the guy playing Orson Welles. The guy who plays Orson Welles does a good job, but other than that, it's just like Cosmo Devine, the really annoying, flamboyant villain of the story. He grinds my gears. I don't hate him because he's a good villain. I hate him because he's the most. I hate him because he's the most annoying character I've ever laid eyes on. It's just this entire story is boring and annoying, and I hate it.
I don't hate it, but I do kind of agree with Brian. And actually, even as somebody who's British, I hate the American accents in this. Like, surely by 2002 there are enough American actors in England to be able to, like, you know, get some American sounding people on.
I found the accents like really annoying. Anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
American.
but one thing I think Minuet in Hell has over this story is that the American accents in that not good, but they work because you're sort of doing the yeehaw, make fun of the yeehaw people thing in Minuet in Hell.
Minuet in Hell is like so much better of a story, and I really like that one.
I mean, I don't
think
particularly like that.
Minuet in Hell kind of plays it a bit more light-hearted, which I feel this story could have benefited from, because it just comes across a bit dour and dull and drab. A lot of D words, including dick.
Also, the two aliens are also really fucking annoying. I hate both of them too. Every part of this story that I want to like, even Paul McGann's not particularly great in it. Every bit of it, except for like the actor who plays Orson Welles, is pretty shit, and I don't like it.
But guys, it has a parody of Ian Levine.
Wait, what?
That's who Cosmo Devine is.
Cool.
I did not pick up on that.
Yeah, this is all a farce, and it's a really fun farce. It's got like gangsters. Why?
Are you saying Ian Levine is a gangster?
No,
Jacob, you should know me by now. I exist purely for surface level bullshit. Okay? And this fails as surface level bullshit. So let us continue.
But it has Orson and the gangsters, though, Brian.
I just like it, okay?
I'm sorry. I don't actually mean to bully you. It's fair enough if you like it. I don't really have a massive problem with it. I just wasn't particularly engaged. It just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that let's just move on, because there's not really too much you could say interesting about Invaders from Mars. Even somebody who likes it like Jacob was really struggling.
Yeah, it's the problem is it's really fun. It's a fun farce with a really fun cast. It's got Simon Pegg in it. What more could you ask for?
Well, if you're not, Jacob, it's a damn slog to get through, and is just the most boring 2 hours of your life.
What more?
And not even Simon.
What more you can? Oh, you've ruined my transition now, Brian. It's fine. I was going to do a clever transition, but you've ruined it. It's right. You just go. You take over. It's yours now.
That was Antonio, Dylan.
Oh, no. You all sound the same to me.
Yeah.
Once again, Lord Slur, the racist against Americans.
Yeah, I'm proud.
Simon Pegg even couldn't save Invaders from Mars. It's just, I didn't even know he was in the story until re-listening to it a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Simon Pegg plays like the main gangster, right?
I think. I don't know.
Yeah, he's Don Chaney, the Phantom.
Don Chaney. 29 Lamborghini used to belong to Capone. That motherfucker.
So, Invaders from Mars, not the greatest thing ever, but now we move on to something.
Wait, we're not doing scores out of 10?
Scores out of 10? What do you take me for? The Celestial Podcast?
That was funnier than it should have been.
But look, this is a subjective channel, and reviews out of 10, that is an objective metric that cannot apply to art.
Dylan has gone so hard against Callum that this is where we're at right now.
Alright, okay, so Chimes of Midnight. Antonio, you talk about it because you look like a fine, resplendent gentleman.
Chimes of Midnight, written by the wonderful Robert Shearman. Yeah, first time I listened to it, I thought it was great. And then after hearing more Big Finish, I just think it's a bit stale, because Big Finish has reused... Big Finish has reused the whole, the building is alive trope, the thing is alive trope. It's just kind of...
You can't blame Chimes for that, though.
Yeah, but...
Blasphemer!
I just don't like it as much as I did when I first listened to it.
Although, I mean, I will concede to the point that, yes, a lot of Big Finish has kind of ripped this idea off. But for me, I don't know, a lot of people have this where things being done to death makes even when it was originally done difficult to watch, whereas I don't have that. I hate when things are done to death, but I can still go back to when it was originally done. It still feels fresh.
See, well, I mean, this is one part of it is every Shearman story is utterly charming. Like, there's just a way that Shearman writes that he just oozes charm. Like, this is a horror story, a horror mystery, but like, all the characters are just so memorable and so well characterized.
And it has all of that sparkling dialogue, which a lot of the imitators of this story just don't have. Like, one of my favourite lines in particular is like, she died being stuffed to death with her own plum pudding. It's just like such gruesome imagery, almost like played for shocks and laughs at the same time. It's genius, man.
And everyone insisting it must have been a suicide, doctor.
She was.
Yes, I suppose he ran himself over with his car.
Like, the dialogue is absolutely brilliant, and that's one thing I love about it. Yeah,
and that for me is like, it may have many imitators, but you can just never take away things like that, which just make this the definitive article.
Rob Shearman also just has like a writing style that even if you're a bit bored by the concept, by the time you re-listen to it, it's still entertaining to listen to because Rob Shearman is just that strong of a writer. It's like, I don't know, something about his dialogue really leaps off the page and it's just great. And Paul McGann always sells his writing really well. He's phenomenal in this one. Like I said, my favorite scene is the scene where I can't remember his name.
Edward Grove?
Not Edward Grove. One of the
Shaughnessy.
Not Shaughnessy, the other dude. The young one. The one who drives the car. Frederick. Yeah. Frederick dies and Paul McGann just makes really sinister, mean jokes about it.
It's because this is basically the Doctor ends up having enough of this bullshit, of this weird bullshit. It's like, okay, just tell me what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I've never been quite as wild as most people are about the story. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still think it's brilliant, but I don't know, I didn't find, like, a lot of people were talking about how great the concept is, obviously not Antonio, but a lot of people do go on about how great the concept is. I was never like overly enthused by it. The reason why I loved it was just because it was Rob Shearman's typical style of amazing characters and dialogue and twisted, gnarly humor.
Well, I think part of it is listening to this in order. This is the first time you really feel the weight of the Doctor's decision in Storm Warning to save Charlie. Like. And it's heartbreaking.
And here we go. And that's the important bit. This is, without this story, the whole arc leading up to Zagreus would be significantly worse.
Well, I think this story and then basically the rest of the stories in this season, even the really shit one that we have to talk about, wouldn't work.
No, leave that as a surprise. Leave that as a surprise, Jacob. What could he be talking about? Ooh. Watch the whole video to find out.
There are two options.
Watch the whole video to find out. What is Jacob's magic box opinion? You must wait. You must wait extra time.
Okay, Dylan, time to pick on me now, alright?
I wasn't even picking on him. Is it? But yeah. Chimes of Midnight. I mean, just fine.
I mean, I do agree with you in the sense that I do think it's a little overrated, but it's still motherfucking gorgeous. It's a brilliant story. As far as like the best Big Finish has to offer, not sure about that, but one of the best, definitely.
Can we kind of also talk about just how great Paul McGann and Charlie are as a duo by this point? Like, they've really gotten to the swing of things by this point in their era, and they're just a delight to listen to.
Yeah. India Fisher just has one of those voices it's really good for radio.
Oh my god, I keep getting flashes of like amazing scenes with Paul McGann just thinking about this story. That one at the end where he's saving Charlie and helping her decide whether to live or die. Just like,
it's so good.
It's so good. The music's really good too.
It's a Christmas special that's so dark, but it still has a happy ending. Sort of.
And I just can't get over how much like Paul McGann, until recently, kind of Doctor, didn't really rate that highly, but I've kind of came to an epiphany about how much I love him as the Doctor. He just always seems to, in the perfect moments, be either, quite soft and wistful or really harsh and, full of mocking anger. And it's always in the perfect moment, and I just love him a lot. So great. At least, I don't know if I'm a big fan of him when we get to after the Lucy era, but the kind of the kind of Lucy and Charlie era, Paul McGann is just one of the best Doctors.
I agree with you on that. I also like him in the Time War because he's sort of healed from Lucy Miller into the death.
Yeah, because I like him to have, even though he still has those moments of quite righteous anger beforehand, but he also has lots of moments of just nice, fun adventure a lot more often.
He's the breathless romantic.
Yeah, he sells that a lot more than other Doctors who try to do that. Like, Jodie Whittaker tries to do that, and Peter Davison tries to do that, and I don't think it quite works when they do it, but when Paul McGann does it, it's brilliant.
Yeah, I think I've said this before, but like Paul McGann's character arc throughout his Big Finish stuff is sort of like Peter Davison done purposefully and correctly, where he's just constantly beat down by the universe and everything surrounding him to the point where at the end of his life he's just tired of all the bullshit.
Yeah,
like when you look at his Big Finish era as a whole, you really just realize how sad his life is because he keeps getting punched in the face by life and battered down from losing
toss the books in with that, and you also kind of get it. But that might also be because a lot of McGann's books are kind of shit.
Guys, did you know that Doctor Who had a book range?
It had multiple.
I'm sorry, Jake. I'll stop picking on you.
Yeah.
All right, so
not like we.
Chimes of Midnight, excellent story. Any final thoughts before we move on?
If you're new to Big Finish and you're looking to get into it, that's a good starting point.
Maybe listen to Storm Warning first for a bit of context.
I'd argue Paul McGann's early run is a good starting point. It's cheap. It's mostly I think the worst story in it is.
It's the mystery
Scaredy Cat. Scaredy Cat. Probably Scaredy Cat.
Yeah.
No, you should have waited until we got to season 4 of this run, and then you should have revealed it then, because then it would have been a cliffhanger for everybody to come up.
Wouldn't that have been season 5? Wouldn't that have been season 5?
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Because it's after the Divergent stuff.
Yeah, but I thought Divergent stuff was season 3.
Yeah.
Season 3 and 4. It was supposed to be seasons 3 through 6, but then they cut it short.
Okay, well, I'm not an expert. Right, so let's move on to the next one. Is Embrace the Dark, or is it Seasons of Fear?
Seasons of Fear.
Seasons of Fear. Often described as the Keys of Marinus of Big Finish. Not by me, but I've heard it said. Do you want to start, Brian?
Yeah. Okay. Cause I think I've said that to you multiple times.
Yes,
Keys of Marinus.
Yes, it was you. Finish. It was you who did it.
It was definitely me. I've definitely said it to you multiple times. But yeah, no, I really like Seasons of Fear, and it's probably the best way you could follow up, a story like Chimes of Midnight. So Paul Cornell's just fucking great most of the time. So like you weren't not
most of the time. I don't think he's ever written anything that I don't like.
Father's Day.
Father's Day is fine.
Yeah, I'd say it's fine, but it's nothing more than that.
Nothing to write home about, that's for damn sure. But yeah, no, Seasons of Fear is really good. Again, you've got like a really strong script and a really cool way to use a returning villain that nobody ever asked for to be in a story again.
No one ever expected them to be in a story.
It's like one of the only times where a monster reveal of a returning character in Big Finish was a surprise.
Oh yeah, because they're not
that
on cover or anything.
But I can't think of
Well, it is on the cover. It's just hidden.
Yeah.
And they picked a good way to do it, linking it into the cult of Mithras at the beginning.
Yeah. So basically, I think someone said this. I think Stu Bagfull said it. If you were to do Doctor Who's a movie, you'd have to do something like Seasons of Fear.
Oh,
and
that'd be great.
I can't agree more. Like,
yeah, it's
that level of story. It's really fucking good. You basically have the Doctor. The Doctor meets the man who's killed him, and has to go back in time through various different locations to try and stop the man who killed him
it's
from
one of
killing
those
him.
few stories that actually manages to take advantage of different time zones and pull it off. Because a lot of Doctor Who stories that do that just get confusing, messy, and don't seem to go on for long enough for it to be effective. But in this story, they get it absolutely right, like using different time zones.
This one doesn't overcomplicate it with a bunch of trouble with the timelines is being caused by our appearance here. No, they just have a specific goal and to hell with the rules.
Also, I love the Edge of Destruction reference.
Oh yeah, the fast and turn switch. Yeah, it's got felt tip then.
It's being labeled in felt tip. Also, I love the framing device of the story of the Doctor at some point in his future speaking to a mysterious figure, played by Don Warrington.
That's a good point.
You know, I don't really like this story.
Oh no! No!
Brian, did you have a child and we didn't know about it?
Huh?
Did you have a child and we didn't know about it?
I mean, he is about as old as I was when I started being edgy contrarian with you guys, so possibly.
I just don't see what the big deal about the story is. I mean, the returning monster is cool and everything, but I just don't find it interesting.
You just don't get the themes.
Paul McGann hair. We can't see the hair, but we can still feel it. That's how powerful it is. And it's so much fun, and it's got luscious long locks. And how can you not enjoy this?
Also, I just want to put a little slip in here because I thought it was cool. Dylan, did you see that animated scene of?
Oh yes, I certainly did. And watching that, I just felt pain in my stomach. It's I really want this to have there to be a full Paul McGann animation, but there never will be.
Yeah, this shit was awesome.
It was.
The story also just has Paul Cornell's
that's one of my favorite scenes in the story too, where Paul McGann's just cheer up. Oh look, a mouse.
See, and that is one of the scenes that really plays up how good the relationship is between the Doctor and Charlie at this point. They're just so much fun,
Charlie
and that's what makes
picks up a sword, and it's just gonna run people through with it.
But I think that's what kind of gives the kind of whole arc quite a lot of dramatic weight, because every episode we're worried about the fact that the Doctor might have to return Charlie to her death, and it's after after just how well they get on together and how much fun they are to sit and listen to. It's oh no, I don't want him to have to kill her, please.
Yeah.
But yeah, Seasons of Fear it's so much fun to have all these different time zones to go through. I love the kind of Grail, the main villain. He's a lot of fun to listen to. And I like the fact that he goes on his own mini character arc that's got quite a bit of nuance to it. And yeah, just overall, I loved every second of this story. I mean, okay, part 4 does get a bit contrived. But parts 1 to 3, absolutely just, beautiful.
I also it's a matter of knowing how to split everything up so well into just four different mini stories and connecting them. Stephen Perring as Grail, you see the man start out as this nice dude who then goes insane.
And he's actually, what this story shows is how much better the whole Maisie Williams in Series 9 thing could have been.
Yeah, Yeah.
It does that whole kind of being, becoming jaded and nasty due to immortality, but in a much better, more substantive way.
Yeah. I like, because it's a common theme that's done with Doctor Who, that immortality is not a gift, it's a curse. And I really like how it's very subtly done here, right up until the end when you have, well, spoilers, guys, the older Grail meet up with the younger Grail, and you see the stark contrast between them. It's just really cool.
It's great characterization. But yeah, just on the whole, another great Paul McGann story that's fun, and and I don't know anybody here in this call that doesn't like it, because we've got Brian here, we've got Jacob here, just everybody in this call likes it, and that's great.
Oi!
There was some strange, sparkly
interference.
I'm here!
So let's move on now to what's the next one? Embrace the darkness, and let's embrace the darkness of Antonio's shit opinions and let him start.
I love this one. Embrace.
Oh
no! I mean, I love half of this one.
I don't even love half of this one. Half of this one's okay.
I like it.
Half of this one is brilliant. Atmospheric, eyes, like people losing their sight and stuff. That's brilliant. The second half,
we don't talk about that.
Yeah, we don't talk about it.
Yeah, so it's a great two-part Paul McGann story, isn't it? A great two-part Paul McGann story. It only lasts an hour, which is a bit odd how they, mess up the format like that, but...
Oh, yeah.
I just want you guys to know that Antonio prefers Embrace the Darkness to Seasons of Fear, and that is a really big shit take.
And I still think Embrace the Darkness is good. I'm not gonna shit on him for that.
It's fine. It's not the shit story I was talking about. I will say that.
Oh, there we go. So take that off on your bingo list if you had that down as Jacob's shit opinion. So that one's fine. That one's fine. It's passed. Safe from Jacob's wrath.
See, my issue with Embrace the Darkness, okay? I don't know if you guys are like big, I like to re-listen to audios, but I do because Paul McGann's my favorite Doctor. And every time I listen to Embrace the Darkness, I just get like this sense of impending dread and sadness at the fact that I know how this story ends, and the second half of it is one of the most boring pieces of Doctor Who in existence. And so like it just sours the entire thing for me. I just really don't like it. Because like the beginning.
You're being a bit vague here, Brian. So just for the sake of people watching, why exactly don't you like the ending?
Okay.
I mean, if people are watching, they must have listened to the audio, so spoilers are fine.
Okay. So essentially, what happens in the first half is you have this really, really decent setup where there's these aliens, they don't know what light is, and they're stealing people's eyes, and that's pretty fucked up, gruesome, and like that's a concept I can get down and dirty with, like hell yeah, there's some good shit, there's some good horror potential, and then the story really takes a nosedive is just people standing around talking about it, not really doing any, because there's a robot that's quoting like book regulations that are not interesting whatsoever, and then it gets real fuzzy, like there's this plot with warheads and shit, and it's just like, okay, what happened to my nice little self-contained horror story? Like, the fuck?
It just decided to stop being a horror story.
Yeah, and more of like a,
And Nick Briggs can do experimental horror. I mean, Creatures of Beauty exists.
Yeah, but this is just lame. And like a waste of potential.
On that note, let's move on to Time of the Daleks.
Do we have to?
Yeah, so Time of the Daleks is boring. Right, Neverland. Go on, Jake.
Shit.
There isn't anything to say about Time of the Daleks other than it's so boring.
Are you telling me I re-listened to Time of the Daleks just a couple of hours ago for us to not even talk about it?
Okay, Antonio, you can talk about Time of the Daleks, and then we're moving on straight away.
No.
I want to hear
you've said it now.
Before that, Antonio, do you like Time of the Daleks?
Well, you see, it's pretty shit. Hearing Daleks quote Shakespeare is really funny to me, and I couldn't stop laughing. Yeah, that's about it. That's all I like.
I will say it made me so scared of anything by Justin Richards for a long while, which is a shame.
He's a very up and down writer. Although all of his best
books
stories
are really
tend to be
good.
horror. Like, whenever he's doing like a kind of Base Under Siege horror story, it's excellent. But whenever he's not doing that, it seems to be outside of his comfort zone as a writer.
Have you heard Theatre of War?
No.
The
two stories of his I really like are The Forsaken and the Blake Seven story. I forgot what it's called, but it's the first one of the Blake Seven audios. Fractures, I think it's called. And in both cases, the Base Under Siege horror story. It's just like, mwah, brilliant. You know how to do that. But, yeah.
See, he can do things that aren't Base Under Siege horror really well. Like, Theatre of War is not a Base Under Siege horror, but it's really good.
If Victory of the Daleks is the shit version of Power of the Daleks, Time of the Daleks is the shit version of Evil of the Daleks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
and isn't it like the big ending for the whole Dalek story arc at Big Finish for the main range?
I'd actually argue that's Terra Firma, even though they don't count it for some reason.
Not gonna lie, I really hate that Dalek story arc. It is just dull, man. I don't care.
The worst part is
the least interesting part about the Daleks is their empires. Just saying it.
The two really cool stories that link up with it are the Apocalypse Element and Terra Firma.
I love Terra Firma. Apocalypse Element's okay. But Terra Firma is good despite the whole Dalek Empire thing. Like, cause the main thing that's good about Terra Firma is Davros and the humans.
Because I think the events of Terra Firma are like very heavily mentioned in the mutant phase, so like they had that in the works for a while.
I do like the mutant phase. Oh, sorry. But anyway, so we've already stopped talking about Time of the Daleks, so that just shows that there was nothing to say other than just skip it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
The next Dalek story with McGann is better.
Much better. That's a brilliant story, Terra Firma. So Neverland. Jakob.
Oh, I do love this one. This is one of Big Finish's best. It ends on a cliffhanger, but that's fine. The cliffhanger really, really works. It's one where it's the title is very much This Is Who the Doctor Is. It's the Doctor is basically Peter Pan taking Charlie away.
Well, I mean, Charlie does literally say that, so it's not that's not some subtle revelation.
It's not subtle. It's not. Yeah, but it's such. I love that speech from her though. It's so good.
It is a good speech. Yeah.
This is India Fisher's tour de force. Lala Ward as Romana is also just brilliant. Like, it's the harsh Romana that would then become Romana in Gallifrey, which is always great. Coordinator Vansell gets his sort of last hurrah being a complete piece of shit.
Oh yeah, this is the one where Coordinator Vansell dies, isn't it?
Yeah, this is one where he dies.
And I think my favorite, I really like this story, and I think what it does really well is very few stories manage to go to Gallifrey and not both be boring and not devalue Gallifrey, kind of the mystique of the Time Lords, because kind of giving having this mysterious netherworld created by Rassilon and all that, it and just how weird and freaky it is, that kind of adds some more layers of mystique back onto the Time Lords, which had been missing quite a lot up to this point. Because remember, this is before the Time Lord.
And what it does what it does is it makes Colin Baker's big speech about the Time Lords being the most corrupt beings in the universe feel so real, just because, like, the idea that Romana has basically sent 100, like, it's implied there's, like, hundreds of people she has sent to, like, have never existed and put into this, like, hellish state outside of time. Like, that, you feel that, like...
Well, this is the first instance of Big Finish doing it, I think, but it seems to be like a recurring theme with Big Finish in that they always try to add something to Gallifrey to make it more fucked up, which I really appreciate. It is important. I really appreciate it because the TV show handles Gallifrey like shit, frankly.
The TV show handles Gallifrey like it's a set of sparkly keys to be dangled in front of the viewer.
Even the Deadly Assassin, which is great. Like, if you actually think about what it does to Gallifrey, it completely, like, chops off Gallifrey's balls, you know? Gallifrey... I feel like the writers at Big Finish get Gallifrey a lot more than anybody who's ever written Gallifrey for the TV show.
I agree.
And, like, this story is probably, like, the biggest example of that. This one instills, like, so much mystery back into how the Time Lords work. So much, like, moral, philosophical questioning. It's really good. I like it.
Yeah, I don't think I can add too much more to that. That was a really great summary of why it's just a really compelling, fun story. And it's always good when there's a Big Finish that doesn't pull any punches, you know, and really get into something that's nitty-gritty dark, but like a kind of level of dark that's justified by the narrative. Looking at you, Necromantia. So, anything else to say before we move on to... Mm-hmm.
The cliffhanger is brilliant.
Absolutely.
You already said that, didn't you?
Did I?
Yes.
Oh, well, I do have something else to say, actually. The cliffhanger is brilliant.
Oh, I have something to say. The cliffhanger is brilliant.
Right.
It also sets up Gallifrey. It also starts the set.
I really like the scene with Home again, and that was the point.
Damn you, Brian!
So we're supposed to be bullying Jacob, Brian. You're not good enough. You're not good enough for bullying Jacob.
You bully him too much this video.
And, you know, as punishment, Brian, you will talk about Zagreus, and you will enjoy it. Talk about Zagreus now.
I like Zagreus. It's Motherfucker sounded like Mr. Sin from Talons of Windchime.
Oh, and we have to cast Mr. Sin in one of our audios.
Yeah, you're Mr. Sin now.
I am Mr. Sin.
I thought that was you, Dylan. I'm gonna be completely honest. Alright. Yeah, so no, I like Zagreus. Zagreus is a fun, fluffy anniversary story that somehow manages to be 4 hours long and actually be really entertaining for me. I don't know why I like it. A lot of people don't like it, but I'm much of like I guess a Doctor Who weeaboo neckbeard that I fucking love it to bits.
I mean, I don't hate it. A lot of people hate it, but I just find it to be really clunky, disjointed, and because it's like, you know, I like long stories, as you know, but if it's a clunky and disjointed long story, even I'm going to find quite boring.
I mean, I won't disagree with you. It is very clunky, but I
love how it gives every companion that Big Finish had a chance to play someone completely different.
You know, what I don't like about this story is that how, you know, that little, like, nursery rhyme they say? Like, Zagreus sits inside your head. Yeah, they, like, mention that throughout other previous main range stories and, like, hyping it up to be this big event and stuff like that. And then when you finally actually listen to the story, it just... Yeah, it's just...
I mean, it kind of is a big event. A lot of stuff happens here.
I mean, Nicholas Courtney is cool, but like besides that, yeah, there's not much I like about it.
The plot of Zagreus can be summed up as the Doctor has gone insane and Charlie runs through all the hidden weird rooms in the TARDIS. That's Zagreus.
Try and save his life.
That's a 3-hour-long story.
I'm thoroughly entertained by it.
It's just too difficult to talk about as there's so much to unpack, and I don't really care to.
Yeah.
I love the whole idea is you have all this stuff like, here, this story gives you a bunch of explanations for what the Forge were really doing in the two previous project stories.
It does?
Yeah, it does. That's Davison's segment.
Oh, yeah.
That's all the Forge.
Really?
I was very confused
Wait.
on my first listen because that was one of the first Big Finish I ever listened to, Zagreus. So I didn't get any of the references.
poor.
Well, come on, think about this to just the eyes of somebody who's like, I'm going to listen to Big Finish. Big multi-doctor story!
Yeah,
that cover is really misleading.
Yeah, honestly, they should get sued for that cover.
Specifically Gary Russell.
That's £3 I'll never get back. Damn you, Gary.
I mean, £3 was worth it.
Yeah,
It was
I'm
worth
joking.
it.
£1 an hour of Charlie running through rooms in the TARDIS.
Not even £1, less than £1 an hour because it's nearly 4 hours.
I mean, to be fair, as like shit as that plot boiled down is, they do manage to make it interesting. Like, the only parts I'd say that kind of irritate and bore me are actually Paul McGann's bits in it.
Yeah, I actually really agree with that. Like, Paul McGann is not fun at all in this story. And I know it's because he's, like, possessed.
Because they don't
but he
quite
just
know what
wasn't
they
a
want
good
to do
choice.
with... I mean, I like when he does the whole Alice in Wonderland stuff, and I love the Schrodinger's cat sequence.
The Schrodinger's cat sequence is fine, but beyond that, he's like the least interesting part of this story, and the story is named after the character he's playing.
I am Zagreus. I am now grumpy, and I hit woman, and that is my only character traits.
That's another issue with the story, I think, because in other videos I've talked about Zagreus, I have given it tongue baths, but another issue with Zagreus is why is Zagreus like really terrible? I guess it was exposition dumped in Neverland as to why, but we don't actually see.
But he hits women, Brian. You're sexist because you don't think that's enough of a reason to not like him.
I mean, that makes him an asshole, but we don't actually see like the full extent of Zagreus' chaotic powers that were described in Neverland, and it is a bit of a letdown, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more, and I think it's a very good point about how it was all exposition dumped. What's bad about them, and that's something I can't stand when characters are kind of built up to be, really scary or the best or the worst thing ever, but it's all just talk, and you never actually get to see the walk. Another example that I always give of that is how Bill says how scared she is of Missy, despite the fact that Missy has done nothing all series other than sit in a vault and look sad. And in fact, her on-screen kill count is only 1 in the whole of her tenure. Oh wait, no, 2.
As like a counter example to like this type of thing done right, Jacob, you're probably the only one who will get this, but because Stephen Thorne's awesome, and it went on sale a couple years ago, I picked up Gallifrey Intervention Earth.
I haven't listened to Gallifrey Intervention Earth, Brian.
Oh, you haven't?
Nope,
I have. I have.
You have?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Omega coming back is like a really big thing in that story, and like it proves to be disastrous for everyone. Like you get to see the full extent of like the after effects of what Omega's doing and how it fucks up the universe, and that it's executed really well there. Whereas something like Zagreus, which is kind of the same thing if you think about it, doesn't really work because you don't see the extent of what Zagreus can do, whereas you can see the extent of what Omega can do.
Show don't tell, and I think given the state of the show these days, that's a very important thing to be said.
Like Stephen Thorne's barely in Intervention Earth. He's got like a couple monologues as in like pre-title sequences, but you feel his presence throughout the story.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right, so is there anything else to say on Zagreus before we wrap up?
Nicholas Courtney gives the best performance in the entire audio as the TARDIS. I mean, he's really sinister.
There's that cringe line at the end where Charlie's like, "Are you dumping me?"
It's funny now in retrospect about the Brigadier being the TARDIS because people now ship the Doctor and the TARDIS. And Paul McGann, the Brigadier, isn't because of the Stephen Moffat episode.
Oh.
Yeah, so that like Paul McGann, the Brigadier, isn't like what I would think of as an ideal couple. I don't know, maybe they can make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Zagreus.
It's fun if you don't think about it.
It's a mixed bag, and in the bag is feces and toenails. So let's move on to our final thoughts. So what you do here is just kind of sum up what you thought about this run of stories and rank them from best to worst, just to prove that we're not the Celestial Podcast.
Yeah, but don't they do that anyway?
Yes.
We do that anyway.
Yes.
That was the point.
Wait.
Antonio.
All right. Let me start typing up my list.
Right, so since Brian can't do mental maths, Jacob, you can go first.
Best to worst, you said?
Or worst to best, you do it whichever way you want. Or you could do it like you start in the middle and then go up and then go down.
I'll do best to worst. So best is obviously Chimes of Midnight, followed by Neverland, followed by Seasons of Fear, followed by Zagreus, followed by Invaders of Mars, then Embrace the Darkness, and at the very bottom, because it's shit, Time of the Daleks.
Oh, I feel you've been very harsh to Embrace the Darkness there. I definitely would have had that above the likes of Invaders of Mars.
Okay.
No, Antonio, we're saving you for last because I think yours is going to be a contentious one. Right, so Brian, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Go.
So I'm going to go from bottom to top. So at the bottom, I have Invaders from Mars, swiftly followed by Time of the Daleks. Then we have Embrace the Darkness. Right slap bang in the middle, we have Zagreus. Neverland comes after that. Seasons of Fear and the Chimes of Midnight at the top.
Excellent stuff. So for me, it'd have to be Chimes at the top, then Seasons of Fear, then Neverland. Actually, I don't know. Okay, I think I slightly prefer Seasons of Fear to Neverland, but that one's very close and contentious.
It's hard. That's a hard decision to call.
Because Neverland's a really quality story in terms of.
It's the problem of they're both brilliant, but they're brilliant for very different reasons. Seasons of Fear is just so much fun.
Yeah, it's very different because Seasons of Fear isn't up there because of the sheer brilliance of the writing. It's just up there because it's one of the funnest things you could ever listen to. But yeah, then the next one after Neverland would be Embrace the Darkness, then Zagreus, then Invaders from Mars, and then Time of the Daleks. So Antonio, big grin on my face right now. What would your best to worst be?
My best would be Neverland. Second would be Chimes of Midnight. Third would be Embrace the Darkness. Fourth, it's gotta be Zagreus. Fifth, Seasons of Fear.
Oh, no!
That hurts. It hurts.
This would be Invaders from Mars or whatever that thing is called. And then my last place is Time of the Daleks.
At least we all seem to agree that Time of the Daleks is absolute pants.
Yeah.
But Seasons of Fear, you're really going to do that at Seasons of Fear? I mean, Chimes not being first. I mean, a lot of people would crucify you for that. I don't really mind because I'm not really I love Chimes, but I don't love Chimes. But Seasons of Fear, man, you're doing it dirty. You're doing it dirty.
Embrace the darkness in the third spot.
Embrace the darkness is good.
He has embraced the darkness himself.
Even if the second half is a bit meh,
you know what? The title "Embrace the Darkness" has just reminded me of something that I memed a long time ago. Dylan, do you remember one of those really old BBV audio covers where it's basically like a lewd photo of Sophie Aldred and
yes!
the title of it is "The Left Hand of Darkness"?
What, is this the right hand?
Is it the right hand of darkness? Oh, shit.
I mean, in a world where nobody can see, you can masturbate in public. And on that note, goodbye. Check out all their channels.